Hi everyone, I'm Brian who posted this video titled Easy Way to Learn Multiplication Table by Pattern Recognition to help children learn multiplication tables easily. In order to do it, I've made a sort of learning board of multiplication table called GuGuPan, which is a shortened word of Gugudan Haksubpan. Gugudan means multiplication table and Haksubpan means learning board in Korean language. GuGuPan will make it easier for children to learn multiplication table quickly and accurately by understanding some types of patterns contained in multiplication table. From now on, I'll call multiplication table as Gugudan for convenience. Then, under the subtitle Gugudan Learning Recipe, I'll explain how to learn Gugudan easily and quickly using GuGuPan. The GuGuPan consists of front of GuGuPan and back of GuGuPan, as you can see in the slide. The front of GuGuPan shows the multiplied values from 1 times table to 9 times table in the same color for each time table. And the back of GuGuPan shows only the multiplied values corresponding to the square numbers between 1 times table to 9 times table in the same color and the remaining values in white. If we print out each of these two sides and attach them so that you can see the front and back, you will create a GuGuPan for your children's Gugudan study. For your information, the front of GuGuPan is designed for students in the introductory stage of learning Gugudan for the first time. And the back of the GuGuPan is made for students who are somewhat familiar with the multiplied values from 2 times table to 9 times table through Gugudan learning recipe. After preparing the GuGuPan like this, if we understand the contents of the next 6 pages of the Gugudan learning recipe slide and engrave the contents of each page through repetitive learning, children will master Gugudan naturally. The first chapter of Gugudan learning recipe is 2 and 3 times learning method. First of all, I will explain 2 times learning method. In the left multiplication table, you can see that multiplying a number by 1 becomes the number itself. And 2 times 2 becomes 4, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 5 is 10, 2 times 6 is 12, 2 times 7 is 14, 2 times 8 is 16, and 2 times 9 becomes 18. These numbers of 2 times can be said to be the values corresponding to jumps on the numbers from 2 to 18. What you can learn when learning the 2 times through the GuGuPan is that when n is a natural number from 1 to 9, 2 times n equals to n times 2. As you can see, 3 times 2 equals 2 times 3 becomes 6. 4 times 2 equals 2 times 4 becomes 8. 5 times 2 equals 2 times 5 becomes 10. 6 times 2 equals 12. 7 times 2 is 14. 8 times 2 is 16. 9 times 2 equals 2 times 9 becomes 18. Next, I will explain 3 times learning method through the figures on the right. 3 times 2 equals 6, 3 times 3 equals 9, 3 times 4 equals 12, 3 times 5 equals 15, 3 times 6 equals 18, 3 times 7 equals 21, 3 times 8 equals 24, and 3 times 9 equals 27. Just as the multiplication values of 2 times are the values corresponding to 2 jumps from the numbers 2 to 18. The multiplication values of 3 times are the values corresponding to 3 jumps from the numbers 3 to 27. And just as 2 times n equals to n times 2, 3 times n equals to n times 3 in 3 times table. That is, 4 times 3 equals 3 times 4 becomes 12, 5 times 3 equals 3 times 5 becomes 15, 6 times 3 equals 18, 7 times 3 equals 21, 8 times 3 equals 24, 9 times 3 equals 27. Through the multiplication table learning process of 2 and 3 times, you can see the following 2 important patterns that are also applied to the last 2 numbers of the multiplication table. First, there is a symmetric pattern such as 2 times 4 equals 4 times 2 and 3 times 8 equals 8 times 3. In a symmetrical pattern, 2 numbers at symmetrical positions with respect to the diagonal connecting 1 times 1 and 9 times 9 have the same value. Here, the value that make up the diagonal start at 1 times 1, 4 equals 2 times 2, 9 equals 3 times 3, 25 equals 5 times 5, 36 equals 6 times 6, 49 equals 7 times 7, 64 equals 8 times 8, and 81 equals 9 times 9. And based on the diagonal, as explained in the previous 2 and 3 times learning method, 2 times 3 equals 3 times 2, 2 times 4 equals 4 times 2, and so on. The second pattern is a repeat pattern. The repeat pattern of 2 times and 3 times is as follows. As shown in the picture on the right side of the slide, the value of multiplication 6 or more of 2 times and 3 times is equal to the value of multiplication 1 or more of each times plus 10 and 15 respectively. Understanding this makes it easy to know multiplication values above multiplication 6 even if you only memorize up to multiplication 5 without having to memorize from multiplication 1 through multiplication 9. Next, we will skip 4 times and move on to 5 times learning method. When running Gugudan, you don't have to learn from 2 times to 9 times in sequence. You just need to learn the easy to learn times first and then fill in the rest. If your kids are accustomed to asking and answering questions about time in daily life, you can say that the 5 times multiplication learning has already been completed. If the minute hand is at 2, it's 10 minutes. If it's at 3, it's 15 minutes. If it's at 4, it's 20 minutes and so on. So if it's at 9, it's 45 minutes. In this way, it will not be too difficult to learn multiplication values of 5 times in the 5 times learning method at all. You can see from the figure on the right side that the repeat pattern learned in the 2 and 3 times learning method is extended from 4 times to 9 times multiplication based on the multiplication value of 5 times, just as the repeat pattern of 2 and 3 times could be obtained by adding 10 and 15 for multiplication of multiplied by 6 or more respectively. The repeat pattern from 4 times to 9 times can be obtained by adding 20, 25, 30, and so on for multiplication of multiplied by 6 or more, as shown in the figure. Next, we will skip 6, 7, and 8 time again and move on to 9 times learning method. 9 times is the last times of Gugudan, and children may find it difficult because the multiplication values are greater than the multiplication values of the other times. However, if you only understand the explanations and diagrams on the right side of the slide, you will find it to be the easiest times as much as the second, third, or fifth times. 9 times can be expressed as 9 times n using the letter n. As a result of learning up to 5 times, we already know that 9 times 1 is 9, 9 times 2 is 18, 9 times 3 is just 27, 9 times 5 is 45, and 9 times 9 is 81. When n changes from 1 to 9, the first digit of the multiplication of 2 digits becomes n minus 1, and the second digit equals 9 minus the first digit, and the sum of the numbers of the first digit and the second digit is always 9. It may seem difficult to understand with text and words, but when you see the content organized in the diagram at the right side, it will be intuitively and clearly understood. If we check the principle of this pattern through 9 times 4 in example 1, the first digit becomes 3, which is 4 minus 1, and the second digit becomes 6 by subtracting 3, which is the value of the first digit from 9. So we can see that 9 times 4 equals 36. Calculating in the same way, 9 times 6 becomes 54, and 9 times 7 equals 63. In the second example, 9 times 8, the first digit is 8 minus 1, which is 7, and the second digit is 9 minus 7, which is 2. So 9 times 8 is 72. And through the symmetric pattern, you can see that 4 times 9 is 36, 6 times 9 is 54, 7 times 9 is 63, and 8 times 9 is 72. The remaining number after the previous 3 slides is 12 in the cells marked in red on the completion of Gugudan learning slide. Since the symmetric pattern based on the diagonal also can be applied to these 12 numbers, so the actual remaining number is 6. The remaining 6 multiplication values can be learned relatively easily through the repeated pattern values of 4 times, 6 times, and 8 times from repeat patterns mentioned in the previous 5 times learning method, and this concludes Gugudan learning. children will not be able to fully understand the contents of the Gugudan learning method, which is implicitly summarized in the previous 4 slides after listening to just one explanation. Therefore, give the quoted GuGuPan to children and let them digest and familiarize themselves with it by looking at it frequently. Gugudan learning through GuGuPan is not based on memorization but based on understanding of each child. It is necessary to understand the differences in the learning ability of each child. There's no need to be impatient, even if your kid seems not to be a fast learner. As shown in the picture of the upper right, if you wait patiently, like waiting for the lights in the cauldron to ripen or waiting for the cherry blossoms in spring, at some point, children will be familiar with the Gugudan, just as the lights is ripe and the cherry blossoms in full bloom. At that point, there will be a significant differences in the ability to learn mathematics that can be called as a quantum jump, and as a result, the GuGuPan will be imprinted on the children's brains and they will be able to freely enjoy not only multiplication but also the mathematical playground of division, fractions, decimals, equations, and functions, etc., which they will learn sooner or later.